Formerly classified military footage, believed to have been captured by an MQ-1 Predator drone, has recently come to light, nearly 15 years after it was originally recorded. The recording was made on August 23, 2012, during a routine patrol over the Persian Gulf. In it, 3 shining figures dart across the Gulf in a triangular formation. To this day, no one is sure what these objects were, where they came from, or what their purpose might have been. Not even the defense officials who reviewed the footage. Journalists Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp made the mysterious clip public in late January. The pair, hosts of the podcast Weaponized, have built a reputation for obtaining exactly this kind of material. As former UK Ministry of Defense UFO investigator Nick Pope put it, they have a, quote, proven track record of getting authentic Pentagon footage into the public domain. According to the journalists, not even defense officials seemed able to explain what the drone had captured. Corbell even went as far as to state, quote, "Your government has labeled this UAP, and you were never supposed to see this footage." The acronym UAP stands for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, a more formal term for what most call UFOs, or Unidentified Flying Objects. And as more incidents like the strange one from 2012 keep surfacing, the public will continue to wonder what may be lurking in the skies over the Middle East, and just how far this mystery truly goes. The video of the incident is just a little over a minute long. However, that was enough to catch the attention of the entire UAP analyst community. In it, the American drone can be seen spotting the shining objects and following them with its camera before locking onto them. The trio is dashing forward in perfect unison, maintaining their tight triangular formation. A seemingly standard military flight pattern, yet no observer could identify these bodies as belonging to any known aircraft from any air force. The problem is that the objects don't resemble any conventional aircraft. If anything, they look like spheres or orbs, emitting a faint glow from their surfaces. The drone's camera, however, isn't filming in normal light. It's using a forward-looking infrared system, or FLIR, which detects heat rather than visible light. Engines, exhaust, and any conventional form of propulsion usually appear clearly on this type of footage. Yet these 3 objects produce no visible heat signature at all. Even more puzzling is what these bizarre shapes do after the drone has them within its sight. After a couple of seconds, they break their triangular formation as the leading orb pulls all the way to the back, only to immediately dart to the front once more. All the while, the remaining 2 spheres appear to slightly adjust their positions in relation to their leader. It's not immediately clear what the purpose of this sudden shift and instant repositioning was, yet it appears that the orbs are somehow communicating, or at least coordinating with one another. Corbell described the behavior of the orbs as almost playful, and according to him, this is not the first time strange occurrences have taken place over the waters of the Persian Gulf. In conversations with sailors who have served aboard ships deployed to the region, it was revealed to him that on one occasion, a crew member encountered a similar shining object hovering above the vessel, casting so much light over the deck that when she raised her hand in front of her face, she could not even see her own palm. However, one of the most notable incidents in the region occurred near the border between Jordan and Syria. Revealed in yet another recently declassified video, State Department analyst Marek van Rennenkamp has described the event as, quote, "the most extraordinary footage I've ever seen." Corbell and Knapp released the second video just a couple of days after the 2012 Shining Orb clip was made public. This time, the sighting was more recent, dating back to 2021 and believed to have been captured by an MQ-9 Reaper drone patrolling over the Syrian desert. There were not multiple unidentified objects in this occasion, just a single speeding figure cutting across the night sky. At first, it looks like a distant fleck, perhaps a foreign jet. However, as the drone system continues tracking its movements and zooming in to reveal its silhouette, the situation only grows stranger by the second. Much like the orbs hovering over the Persian Gulf, this flying object does not appear to bear any resemblance to a traditional aircraft shape. No wings, no exhaust, not even a proper nose. Experts have described its shape as something resembling a mushroom or dome. The drone locks onto the mysterious figure, zooming in to maximum resolution to uncover its identity. However, before operators could determine exactly what this thing was, it did something unbelievable. In about 3 seconds, the figure suddenly breaks free from the drone's view and disappears into the darkness, seemingly accelerating to what may have been supersonic speed with little effort. Interestingly enough, von Rennenkampf notes that the drone carrier system is set to a black-hot configuration, meaning that the hotter an object is, the darker it will appear on the footage. The figure itself appears extremely white during the entire duration of the video, not even heating up as it darts away at top speed, which is unusual because objects accelerating to extreme speeds normally generate enormous amounts of heat. After the object disappears, the drone attempts to reacquire it, but the mysterious craft is nowhere to be found. To understand what had happened, Korbel, Knapp, and von Rennenkampf slowed the footage to just 5% of its original speed. Even then, the object doesn't appear to fly away. It warps, it stretches across the frame, and vanishes. No blur, no distortion of the background, just gone. What the analysts were likely seeing was instantaneous acceleration to hypersonic speed. Much like in the 2012 incident, no one has been able to clarify exactly what this object could have been. Some may suggest it could be part of a highly experimental and advanced piece of technology being tested by a foreign power, such as China. However, von Rennenkampf has noted that there's no clear explanation as to why China would be flying such equipment in that particular region. And perhaps it's a good thing that this wasn't a Chinese craft, because as von Rennenkampf puts it, quote, "If China has this kind of technology, we're all screwed. You could just drop a nuke anywhere in the world instantaneously." But if China is not behind it, then who was? And more importantly, what do they intend to do with that kind of power? Some suggest the videos could simply show unexplained natural phenomena, but others think it could be part of a story that's been building for years. In 2023, former U.S. intelligence official David Grush testified before Congress that the government had been concealing the recovery of intact alien vehicles for decades. Yet while the Pentagon has reviewed more than 1,500 UAP cases, including 485 incidents in 2025 alone, it denies evidence of extraterrestrial origin. On February 20th, 2026, President Trump announced he would order the release of government files on UFOs and alien life. Something is happening in the skies. Could it be that governments are finally being forced to reluctantly admit something they've known all along? In late February, a peculiar statement appeared on President Trump's Truth Social account. It read, quote, "I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects." This decision, however, did not come out of nowhere. For the past few years, officials have been urging the government to reveal the classified information it holds regarding the many mysterious sightings that American personnel have reportedly encountered while out in the field. A demand that's only gained momentum after recently surfaced classified footage suggested that some of these unidentified flying objects are not only unlike any aircraft the U.S. has ever encountered, but may even be capable of surviving a strike from some of the nation's most powerful weapons. This worrisome revelation arrived last year when Representative Eric Burleson walked into a House committee hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs, prepared to present a video that, for reasons he could not fully explain, had been kept hidden from the public since it was first recorded back in 2024. Allegedly, the video was shot by an MQ-9 Reaper drone flying next to the coast of Yemen in late October. It's been reported that a second American drone was operating in tandem with the camera operator. However, that second unit could not be seen in the footage. What can be observed in the video, however, is a peculiar circular shape, almost like an orb, speeding across the ocean. Even as the drone's camera locks onto the object, there's still no clarity as to what it actually is. It bears no resemblance to any traditional aircraft, and it appears to cast a strange glow, almost as if it were pointing a headlight directly into the drone's camera. After a few moments, the second drone, unseen in the footage, but apparently flanking the mysterious object, receives permission to engage and releases a single payload, which sources have identified as a Hellfire missile. This weapon is considered one of America's top hitters, despite being strong enough to take out armored vehicles. Footage from American forces employing Hellfire missiles in Afghanistan shows that these weapons can also be precise enough to destroy specific targets in the heart of populated areas without causing damage to surrounding structures. A single hit from one of them should have been more than enough to bring down the small object flying across the coast of Yemen. However, when the video reaches the moment of impact, something unbelievable happens. Instead of detonating, the missile simply bounces off the orb and then plunges into the water below. The video cuts off moments later, just after the drone's camera zooms out to confirm that despite being knocked slightly off course, the orb remains airborne and steady. This left officials wondering what happened next, and what kind of machine could withstand a direct hit from one of America's most feared missiles. While the figure in the video appears to have a silhouette somewhat similar to that of a spy balloon, officials have noted that there's no known military balloon capable of enduring a strike like this. Moreover, it's also been noticed that at the moment of impact, 3 smaller orbs appear to separate from the main one and follow it as it readjusts its trajectory. Whether these were components designed to detach at some point during its flight, internal parts that simply broke free after the impact, or perhaps fragments of the Hellfire missile itself, remains unclear. The only thing anyone seems to agree on is that there's no known technology that behaves this way, or at least none known to the general public. Still, the War Department's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, was careful to clarify, in reports that emerged shortly after the incident, when it was still hidden, quote, "It's important to underscore that to date, AARO has discovered no evidence of extraterrestrial beings, activity, or technology." Whether the tone of those statements will change after President Trump unclassifies information related to similar incidents remains to be seen. For 2024, at Picatinny Arsenal, one of the United States' most sensitive military installations, something strange appeared in the night sky. It started with an ominous hum. Not the roar of a plane or the chop of a helicopter. Something lower, steadier. Something that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Then they appeared. Clusters of lights, moving in perfect formation. Witnesses described objects the size of cars gliding between the trees before simply disappearing into the darkness. The U.S. Army had no explanation, and it was only the beginning. Picatinny Arsenal sits on 6,400 acres of wooded hills in Morris County, New Jersey, about 35 miles west of New York City. It's home to the Army's Combat Capabilities Development Command, the Joint Center of Excellence for Guns and Ammunition, and multiple classified research and engineering programs. It's where the U.S. Army figures out how to fight its future wars, not the kind of place that welcomes uninvited guests. The first confirmed reports of strange happenings over Picatinny occurred on November 13, 2024. A contractor at the facility reported seeing a light rising straight up from the tree line and moving toward the installation. By November 18th, reports were flooding in from across Morris County, Madison, Morris Township, Mendham, as well as additional sightings at Picatinny. New Jersey State Police Aviation was scrambled to track the mysterious objects. A military Black Hawk helicopter was spotted on flight radar orbiting the area. Whatever was up there, it had people's attention. As November turned to December, the reports kept coming, now not just from Morris County, but across the entire surrounding region. Residents called local police. Mayors called state officials called the FBI. Nobody called back with an explanation. What began as a local curiosity quickly transformed into a national story. Governor Phil Murphy announced that New Jersey had received 49 drone reports in a single day. On December 8th, members of the U.S. Coast Guard on patrol in the Atlantic reported a swarm of 12 to 30 objects approaching their vessel at around 9 p.m. They were each roughly 7 feet across, with 4 propellers and flashing green, red, and white lights, and appeared out of nowhere. They followed the boat for 15 minutes, and when the vessel changed course, so did they. On land, the mayor of Montvale described scenes that had become almost routine for his residents. 2 or 3 objects at a time, the size of a small school bus, 15, maybe 20 feet across, flying in tandem, back and forth in a fixed pattern, over the town's reservoir and shopping centers, night after night. A local drone hobbyist, he said, had sent his own device up to investigate, and watched in shocked silence as some external force took control of it and guided it gently back to the ground. It seemed whatever it was knew it was being watched, and it didn't like it. Then, on December 12th, in Clinton, New Jersey, witnesses reported something even more unsettling. One of the objects appeared to be spraying a gray mist. It was the kind of detail that fed a growing online frenzy. Some were already speculating the objects were searching for radioactive material, or worse, dispersing it. Mine Hill Mayor Sam Morris put it plainly. These institutions had taken, quote, a reactive instead of proactive approach. They weren't wrong, but the official response, when it finally came, would raise as many questions as it answered. On December 16, 2024, the DHS and FAA issued a joint statement together with the FBI and Department of Defense. After reviewing over 5,000 reported sightings, they said they'd found nothing anomalous. Most reports, they concluded, were a combination of authorized commercial drones, hobbyist drones, law enforcement drones, manned aircraft, and even stars. Some of the most alarming incidents were debunked through independent analysis. Former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan's video of dozens of large drones over his home, posted on December 13th, was identified by journalists and astronomers within days. The objects were the constellation Orion. While the FAA imposed flight restrictions over 22 New Jersey communities on December 18th, documents later obtained through a FOIA request revealed that the TSA had already internally debunked several high-profile incidents before that point, but had chosen not to share those findings with the public. But here's what none of it explained. The origin of the unauthorized drones spotted 11 times over Picatinny Arsenal between November and December. The joint statement acknowledged that drone incursions over military installations were not new, but did not identify who'd been flying without permission over one of America's most sensitive weapon facilities. By late December, the sightings had slowed almost as suddenly as they had begun. No final incident was recorded, no explanation given for why they stopped. They simply did. In January 2025, the new White House press secretary confirmed the drones spotted in northern New Jersey over the previous months had been FAA-authorized research and hobbyist craft. Case closed, officially. But a month later, General Gregory Juliet, head of NORAD and U.S. Northern Command, told a Senate Armed Services Committee that the military had recorded 350 drone incursions over 100 U.S. military bases in 2024 alone. The Pentagon announced a new rapid reaction force, specifically to respond to future incursions. New counter-drone legislation was introduced in Congress. For a problem that had been explained away, it was receiving a remarkable amount of serious attention. A year on from the first sightings, Montvale Mayor Mike Gasali reflected on the unsettling episode, quote, "No one had any answers. Even when the state police and the FBI brought all the mayors in to talk about what these are, they said, 'We don't know. We don't know anything,' to this day." On February 24th, 2026, the French nuclear-powered aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle, one of the world's most powerful warships, arrived at the Swedish port of Malmö. Yet it wasn't alone. The Russian ship Zhigulevsk was lurking just a few miles away. The next morning, it would make its move, and the West was about to get a taste of the unsettling direction in which Moscow's technology is heading. Charles de Gaulle's first-ever visit to Sweden was designed as a statement of intent. The 858-foot-long vessel, home to Rafale fighter jets, a crew of nearly 2,000, and enough firepower to project French military force anywhere on Earth, sailed in, escorted by a Dutch frigate and a full carrier strike group. It was a clear message that France was turning its attention northward, to its newest NATO ally, and to the increasingly volatile Baltic Sea. The French carrier drew cameras and onlookers to the Malmö waterfront, but few were aware that something was out there, watching and waiting. Zhigulevsk is a Russian signals intelligence vessel, essentially a spy ship, crammed with antennas and surveillance equipment. She'd taken a position in the Øresund Strait, the narrow waterway separating Sweden from Denmark. Her presence was not welcomed by the Swedish Navy, but under international law, she had every right to be there. Apprehensive about Zhigulevsk's intentions, but unable to restrict her access to the strait, Sweden instead deployed patrol vessel HMS Rap to keep a close eye on her activity. On the morning of February 25th, Zhigilevsk showed her hand. A small unmanned aircraft lifted from her deck and without authorization started moving into restricted airspace, straight toward the port where Charles de Gaulle was harbored. The drone's mission was unclear. Was it carrying out surveillance, gathering intelligence, or was Moscow trying to provoke an escalation? Whatever the Russians' intentions, the drone didn't get far. It was quickly detected by the crew of HMS Rap, who used electronic warfare equipment on board to flood the drone's radio frequencies with interference, severing the signal between the craft and its operator. Contact was lost. The drone was down. The reaction was swift. Sweden's defense minister, P.M. Johnson, confirmed that the drone had violated Swedish airspace and breached the country's access regulations. Serious charges. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot, speaking on board the Charles de Gaulle, called it, quote, a ridiculous provocation. Meanwhile, Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson seemed unsurprised, commenting, quote, it's a Russian way of acting that we recognize from other places. He was right. For months, NATO members across the Baltic region had been reporting a surge in unexplained drone sightings near military installations and airports. In December 2024, drones had flown over Ile-Longue, a French naval base that houses France's nuclear ballistic submarines. With most of these incidents, if Moscow made any statement at all, it would deny any involvement, despite significant evidence to the contrary. The Charles de Gaulle incident would prove to be no different. True to form, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov declared that Sweden's claim the drone had been Russian was, quote, quite an absurd statement. The pattern has become clear. Provoke, deny, repeat. Yet with each incident, Russia is learning something new. Every drone that NATO forces intercept and jam provides Moscow with valuable data about response times, about frequencies, about weaknesses. And a new generation of drone technology, known as cognitive electronic warfare, is designed to exploit exactly that. Using artificial intelligence, these systems can analyze an incoming jamming signal and adapt to it in real time, in some cases within microseconds. A drone equipped with these capabilities doesn't go dark when you try to jam it. It learns and keeps going. Western militaries are developing this technology too, but Russia has shown a willingness to test its capabilities in the field, in real situations against real targets, that its adversaries have not. So while the Orizon drone was stopped, the next one may not be.